This is Polymyth, aka Leading Zero. I wanted to show you the Enderman experience farm components that I've mocked up in my test world. Like my spawner that I had in the previous base, I prefer to have the spawners continuously deliver a stream of mobs to a player with only a half heart left. To do that, you have to satisfy a certain number of requirements. So and that was the way, as you recall, the creeper spawner was. But that used water to, first of all, break the fall of the creepers as they fell from the spawner, and furthermore, to convey them to the player. That won't work on Endermen, because as soon as they touch water, they teleport. So I've had to come up with some other devices to move them. And ultimately, I guess I want to know if it's something you think is even worth it, or if you just want to do a regular drop and move sort of thing. Anyway, first I'm going to describe a little bit about the spawners. I created this mock-up to demonstrate how a spawner works. You probably know this, but I think this illustrates it pretty well. In the center there, I'm representing the spawner as a piece of bedrock. It is surrounded by the spawn area, which is an ice, followed by the area where the game looks for mobs of the type that are spawned by the spawner to see whether or not it should avoid spawning anymore. And then finally, I've just kind of roughed in the area that the player has to be in, and that's not a rectangular area, it's a spherical distance, which is 16. So every 20 to 40 seconds, the game tries to spawn 4 mobs in this area here, and if there's anything blocking their spawn, then it simply creates a flash of fire and doesn't spawn anything for that one. So to get the maximum number of spawns, what you want is to have this area as open as possible. Furthermore, the game only wants to avoid, I guess, overflowing the server. The game tries to detect have a maximum of 6 of the given spawned mob type in this 17 by 17 by 9 area. And so what you want to do is have them spawn here, get them out of this area as soon as possible, all the while your player has to be within the 16 blocks. I've mocked up the Enderman spawner here. I've represented these place where the spawners will actually go in bedrock here. There, I've got them 2 by 2, and then we can stack them as high as we need them, or as many spawners as we have. It doesn't matter how high we go, because they will drop down into this webbing, which does deaden their fall. After passing through the webbing, they'll go down to this area where they will be pushed here into the center, into this 1 by 1 block. And then from there, we can deal out damage. Now, at that point, they should not have received any fall damage. So they'll have a predictable health at that there. So if I activate it, and again, the redstone is really messy, and I can definitely optimize that. I was mostly just going for effect here. But basically, they will come, they'll drop, and very slowly going through here. So I'll just push myself down. It takes about 2 iterations for them to fall through, I find. And then here they are at this web, and mission accomplished. So here it is in action. The Enderman will spawn up here, and they'll drop down here. So I'm just going to place them here where they'll drop on the webbing. And see, they will slowly sink down through the webbing into the area below. Now from below, they'll begin to drop through into the compressor, and it will take 1 or 2 iterations to show in the middle. You can see they'll hop around a little bit, so it does take a couple of iterations, but ultimately they will all make their way down the middle, down here to this compression point. There they all are. They will be released at the same height, so we can drop them and damage them that way, or you can crush them. And this brings us to the rub. Now that we have all the Endermen concentrated down at this point in the bottom, the player is now out of range of the spawners up there. So we have to get them over and up without using water. I chose to use pistons. That's the one I can think of to do that. Laterally is not a big problem because Endermen are 3 tall, so you can do all sorts of straddling methods and they can work pretty reliably. Vertically is a little more of a challenge. On the server I had the Elevator. As you recall, it was a piston head player mover, and it would tend to lift you up and then drop you to your death because lag on the server would cause the timing to get messed up, and then the player would end up passing through one of the heads and fall to his death. To avoid that problem, I am instead pushing an object, in this case a bit of smooth stone, which is automatically generated by combining water with lava. The smooth stone is then pushed up the shaft here in a consistent way. And you can see, since this is a solid object and not a flashing piston head, it won't have the same issue. I can close off this front wall and it should be an excellent way to convey the Endermen up. Downside of this design is that when it's done, you're going to end up with some stone that you need to deal with. You can either pack it up and drop TNT onto it automatically, or you'd require the players to destroy it. Now, one thing you may have noticed here also is that it automatically replaced the stone here, and that's just part of the function of the elevator. The other option for vertical conveyance is the inchworm drive elevator. Basically, it uses a push-pull mechanism with using a sticky piston here and a non-sticky one there. And when you engage it, you can see what happens. There's a redstone signal that spirals up this channel here and triggers in turn the sticky piston to pull the regular piston up, then the regular piston to push the sticky piston up. The problem with this is that once you get to the top, you have to get it back down to the bottom. So there's a circuitry over here to do this to do the other way. However, since the sticky piston is currently on the top and that's the only one that can do the pulling, you have to actually have 4 of them, which is actually doable with a little bit of extra effort. But the downside again is that instead of allowing a continuous stream of Endermen to go up, you have to wait and bring them in groups until the sticky piston gets down to the bottom. So I kind of prefer this one here, though we still have to deal with the excess stone that builds up at the top there. It's a bit of a footnote. This is my original design here. With this one, instead of using spider webs as this one does, it uses vines to break the Enderman's fall. And then then they are pushed with the piston heads here, and that can be replaced with the actual stone, which will tend to be more reliable. And the problem with that was because since I was using bare piston heads, oftentimes they would get caught in these corners and then they wouldn't get pushed down. And I think that the fact that I used solid objects in this one made that go away. Well, that could be applied also to this one. The nice thing about this one is that it is shorter and a little simpler and a little faster in terms of how quickly they go down. This one you have to wait until they pass all the way through the webbing, which is quite some time. The downside is that occasionally they will be caught right on this lip here and not be slowed, and then they'll take some damage. And the reason that that's a problem is that you'll begin to accumulate ender pearls in the system, and then they will reduce the I guess trigger some of the server's entity reduction methods, which can, for instance, refuse to spawn as many experience orbs in my experience, or also they'll get cleared up automatically by sea lag. So that's the issue with this one. I opted for this one, but this one could also be used. Again, it's a little simpler, a little not all the circuitry's here on this one. That's one reason it's a little cleaner too, but that's neither here nor there.